it's certainly in Curaçao and Suriname, I think it's like a love language.
Mm,
If you come to the house and you leave without eating something, it's not possible.
no,
I have the same, because my kids were saying, "Mom, we are not hungry." I'm like, "Okay,
right.
you need to eat something," and people come.
Hello, everyone. I am Teratai, owner and intercultural trainer at Pro Compass Coaching and Training. Now, here at the Crossroads, I usually have a one-to-one and heart-to-heart chat with internationals from around the world. But today, we are flipping the script, kinda. Now, in today's episode, I will be having that chat with someone from the Netherlands. Well, she is from the Netherlands, but she's not currently living in the Netherlands. In fact, she has lived all around the world. Now, isn't that interesting? Now, in Pro Compass here, I believe in having a diverse understanding of what it means to live, work, and study in the Netherlands. And what better way to have that fuller understanding than to also include a local's perspective. Now, would you join me in welcoming my guest for today, Arlette? Hey, Arlette.
Hi, Tinatai. So thank you so much for having me here. I'm very honored.
Yeah, I'm really excited having you here because you are somebody who I had always wanted to interview because like the idea of a Dutch person, usually we have a particular idea, but you are someone that is different from the idea of the Dutch people being Caucasian, right? So with that said, can you please introduce yourself to our viewers?
Yes, of course. Yes, and I'm definitely not the typical blonde and blue-eyed Dutch person. So yes, I was born in Curaçao, and grew up actually in a cross-cultural environment. And this is something I only found out about 2 years ago when I was talking to somebody from Families in Global Transition. And we were talking about CCKs. I'm like, CCK, what is that?
Right,
Oh, wow, I am a CCK. I grew
right.
up between the
Third
Suriname
cultural kid, yeah.
and the Curaçaoan culture. Because my mom, her parents are originally from Suriname, and my father is originally there from Curaçao.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't think on a small island of 60 kilometers long
Right.
that you will have like a cross-cultural experience growing up. But this is my, yeah, how do you say it? My reality. And for me, it was very normal because our family, like I said, Suriname, Curaçao, different cultures, different languages.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up switching between the cultures and
Mm-hmm.
switching between the languages, which made, no, I think it has been a very good training for me for later
Right.
on in the life I'm living now.
Right.
So I grew up there, and after high school, I moved to the Netherlands to study.
Mm-hmm.
This was in 1988.
Mm-hmm.
So a small peek in how old I am.
No. But how was it like? Because coming from Curacao and having the two cultures and then moving to the Netherlands, was it a big change for you?
Not so much, not so
Mm.
much. And I think that has to do with the fact that when you are studying, you are part of the student community, and everybody's coming from different parts of the Netherlands.
Right.
Also from the Caribbean and then what they call the Dutch Caribbean islands. So everybody is new in the city,
Right.
and we have like a subculture, the student culture, and that was really nice to have that for a couple of years.
Right.
Move on into the real Dutch world, because yeah, of course, when you're working, you're not in the student bubble, but
Right.
you're out there in the Dutch culture.
I imagine that it must be quite an experience to find yourself working in the business culture, the Dutch business culture. Did anything take you off guard?
To be honest, no. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that has to do with the fact that I think more than half of our family already lived in the Netherlands, and we were
Right.
came on vacation. So for me, it wasn't, and my friends in school, our school, I think about 50% was kids from the Netherlands.
Right.
So the culture was not foreign to me. I
Right.
think that's really why it didn't have a culture shock moving to the Netherlands,
Yeah.
having family there and having friends who were already. And you, of course, when you grow up, you talk about the differences.
Right. Indeed. And growing up in Curacao, what are the languages that you speak?
So all the schools when I was growing up, everything was in Dutch. At my maternal grandparents, I spoke Dutch, but at my paternal grandparents, I spoke Papiamento.
Oh, interesting.
And normally in the shops, they also spoke Papiamento.
Okay.
So I grew up with these two languages. And then, to be honest, in Curaçao, was just like in the Netherlands, all the kids show, everything was in English.
Ah, so you grew up with 3 different languages then, Papiamento, Dutch, and English.
Actually 4, because Curaçao is very close to South America. And we also had the Venezuelan TV stations. So I grew up hearing English, reading English, listening and hearing, and also Spanish.
Yes.
So growing up, I grew up with hearing 4 languages and really speaking, well, 2, 3, because we spoke more English than Spanish at that point.
Yes.
So it was really that, and to be honest, afterwards, when you get older, then you think, wow, this really prepared me.
Yeah. How did it prepare you?
I learn languages very quickly now. I can switch quickly.
Yeah, good switch. Yeah.
I could really switch really quickly between languages. So funny, because when I speak to my father, it goes from Papiamento to Dutch, sometimes a little bit of English, and it's when people hear us speaking, my husband, the first time he heard that, he was like, can I say that? He was almost peeing his pants from the laughter. So strange.
And he is Dutch as well, your husband?
Yes, my husband is very Dutch, from the south of the Netherlands, from Zeeland.
Okay, yeah, that is interesting as well, right? So does he grow up with a different culture as you?
Yes, definitely, because he grew up in the Netherlands, in Zeeland, which is really, as you know, like Friesland, Zeeland, Brabant in the Netherlands. It's a small country, but it has its different cultures.
Yeah, it is. This is so interesting. Would you say your experience of growing up in Curacao with learning 4 different languages, is that what is normal for people of Dutch people with Curacao or Surinamese background?
More for the Curaçaoan, yes.
Ah, okay.
When you go to Suriname, they speak more Dutch and Sranantonga, which I never learned. The Suriname, because my grandparents at that time, we were the last grandkids, and I think they gave up. They just spoke Dutch with us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I get it. I come from Singapore, so I'm considered a Malay small minority in Singapore. Majority of people in Singapore are Chinese. So I grew up learning Malay, of course, and then English, but also understanding a little bit of Mandarin as well. And I am that last generation where the Malay group of people, like my grandmother, they learn the language of Jawi, which is a different type of an Arabic language. But I think that usage of that language dies with my generation. Yeah, which is very unfortunate, I think. Yeah, and because it's part of the culture, but it's not as used as much as before. Yeah, so I totally understand that.
And especially nowadays that everything is going into the English, every language has a lot of English words in it.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my growing up. And so I moved to the Netherlands and in 1988. And in 2002, we left for our first expatriation.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Nigeria.
Yeah, you live in quite a number of different countries, right? First was Nigeria, and what are the other countries that you lived in?
And then we came back to the Netherlands, and then we left to India, Mumbai. We lived for 3 years. We lived in Milan in Italy for 4.5. Since 2 years, almost 2 years now in Hanover, in Germany.
Right.
In August, I will be moving to Sao Paulo, Brazil. So
wow,
looking forward to that one also.
Yeah, so, your life,
Different culture again. So that's the thing I love about moving around.
right? Yeah, and I think because you can pick up languages pretty easily, right? It makes it. Would you say it makes it easier for you when you have to move around?
Yes, up till now, yes. The only place I gave up on learning a language was in India. Because it's so it's really difficult, and everybody spoke English. So to be honest, it's not a top priority at that time.
At a point of time, yeah.
Point of time to really learn Indian, the Maharashtrian, what they speak in Mumbai.
Yeah. And there's so many languages in India as well, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the only country I did not learn the language.
Indeed.
And a couple of words, you pick up some words, but I could not follow or have a conversation.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah. Are there any particular experiences about living abroad that you find surprising or interesting to share with us? Yeah.
Yes, to be honest, so my first, you were asking about the culture shock. I did not have in the Netherlands. I had my culture shock in Lagos, Nigeria.
Tell us more about that. Yeah.
For 2 things. One, first, because I had never seen poverty like that. That was, for me, it was really foreign, because on a small island, Curaçao, maybe you have it, but you don't see it.
Right.
Not maybe, you do have it, but you don't see it. And in the Netherlands also you have poverty, but it's not so visible.
Right.
And the second one is that for the first time in my life, I was discriminated against.
Right. That must have been difficult.
I was treated differently because of the color of my skin, and that was a shock.
Yeah. And this happened in Nigeria. What happened?
It happened in Nigeria, because I never expected. I never grew up with it, discrimination, because in Curaçao it's a melting pot.
Yeah.
And never. But what happened there is that I saw that they were treating my Caucasian friends, from the Netherlands, from France, they were getting privileges that I wasn't getting. So, for example, when I visited a friend and we arrived at the gate, my friends, they were like, "Oh, welcome, madam," and they will let her through.
Yeah.
And I arrived there with my chauffeur. Nope, stop. We need to call, and we need to check if you are allowed to go inside. I'm like, this is like the 4th time I'm here.
Right.
No, we need to check. And then, what do you get? Maybe it's my reaction. I got a little bit angry, like, happening here, I'm Arlette. I don't see color. Growing up a family, a melting pot, you don't see color.
Right.
And they said, no, it's nothing. And then we just need to check, do an extra check. And then I realized I was never going to get the answer I wanted to get. And I had to let it go.
Right.
And that was a really big teachable moment for me.
Yeah.
It's I always see people on face value, so I don't see color. Sometimes I don't even see hair color. Some people ask me, is that the lady with the blonde hair? I'm like, not sure. She might have had brown hair, because I make my connection through the eyes. I look at people. So for me, that's the importance of connecting with people.
Right.
And that was a really big shock for me to be treated differently because of the color of my skin.
When did this happen?
This was in 2002.
Oh, yes, 2002.
Yeah. And I've never experienced anything in the Netherlands, nothing, I've been in the Netherlands since 1988.
Right.
never experienced anything. And maybe I don't see it because I never grew up as a minority.
Right.
And being in a country where most of the people look like me,
Right.
shocked that at that point I was treated differently. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very hard to explain what it means when you experience discrimination. Yeah, it's a very painful experience,
Yes,
and one that
exactly.
stays with you.
Yeah, because at that point I felt I didn't feel seen, and that's talking about values. That is one of my things, being seen and seeing others.
Yes,
Respect for the person, and it's not about color, it's not about status, it's about the person.
indeed.
And that for me was hard. It was hard.
Yeah,
I had to let it go because I also realized I wasn't going to change
right.
the way that they because they reacted based on their own upbringing, their own bias, that
Yeah.
I don't know, white people are better, like in the colonial times.
Yeah,
And that for me was really, it was difficult, but I had to let it go. And then,
indeed.
it continued to happen, but it didn't I must say after 6-9 months, it didn't bother me anymore. It took some time.
Indeed. I remember growing up in Singapore, and I grew up a minority, right? So there are instances where I had experienced discrimination, and there was a time when I was a teenager, and I entered into a shop, who the shop owner was a non-Malay person, right? And I found it really strange that as I was walking around the shop, that I was being followed. Yeah, I was followed, and every time I touched something on the shelf, the shop owner would replace it. And the person just followed me around the shop. And I remember being 16, 17, and I didn't understand what was happening, to the point when I left, all I remember at that point of time was I was very angry. Yeah, but I didn't understand what was going on, So I think discrimination is something that can be very painful and it stays with you for a long while. But I think it also can teach you a lot of things, right? So I think in some ways, maybe that's why we do the work we do.
And the thing is, I think
Yeah.
the biggest lesson for me was not to take it personally, because
Indeed.
it felt
Painful.
very painful and very personal.
Right.
Like it was saying something about me, but it wasn't saying something about me. It was saying something about the person.
The person, indeed. I agree with you.
That was for me the biggest mindset change. If you, at this point,
I completely agree with you on that, because I think you cannot control the reaction of the person, but you can control how you react to the situation. Like, you cannot change the person's perspective just from that one interaction that they had with you, but you can control how you conduct yourself in the moments where you feel discriminated. Yeah.
And that's exactly what I'm giving to my daughter now, because she is growing up in a completely different time that I did. And also, if we are living now in Germany, but even in the Netherlands, she feels it.
Yeah.
And this is, for me, is so foreign, because I never felt that in the Netherlands.
Oh, this is so interesting, because she is of a mixed background, right?
Yeah, she's mixed, and but still, it's it happens, and that's what I tell her. Don't take it personally, and know that it's not saying anything about you.
Right. It is more about the person.
It says everything about the person you're interacting with, and and that's a change, but that's for later. That's I want to talk about the Netherlands. A change.
Yeah, indeed. Are there any other particular stories that still stays with you?
Also funny stories, of course.
Yeah.
One of my things is, when I move to a country, I like to talk to the people, because you get to know the culture a little bit. It was very
Right.
easy in Italy because you go to a cafe, you order a coffee, and there are always like 5 or 6 old men or women curious and want to ask you and answer your questions. So coming here to Germany, I thought, oh, this is my way. I like coffee. And you go to a coffee place and everybody is sitting behind their cup of coffee, closed off with their, like they say, coffee and kuchen. This is a coffee with some cake. It's more, they are on their own with their friends. There's no interaction. So that I need to find a way to, to get to my connection because it's for me, it's one of my values, very important. So I started to chat with the ladies at the butcher shop. At one point I walk in and I see them like shh with each other and no, like they are discussing who is going to talk to me. And I realized my German is not good. Chatting away and they didn't want to chat with me.
Oh, why?
I think now they do. Now they know me more. But in the beginning, it was like, oh, there she is with her bad German.
Oh.
Wanting to connect and asking questions. How do you say this? And how do you say that? And they're like, we don't have time for this. There's the next client waiting.
Right. But I imagine that they appreciate, right? You speaking
Now when I
German.
come in, they have a smile on their face, which is very rare here in Germany.
It is, right? I remember when I first moved to the Netherlands 6 years ago, whenever I go to the butcher shop, I had a script written in Dutch because the Dutch language is very difficult. So especially I had to read off the script what I want. And I remember trying to enunciate, ik wil 400 gram ronde gehaakt. And I remember the butchers are so amused by me. Did that happen to you?
No, but that's the thing. In the Netherlands, they will start speaking English with you.
Yes.
You here in Germany, no, you speak German or not always, but let's say 80% of the time, if you don't speak the language, they are not going to help you anyway with English or anything.
Oh, that must be difficult.
That was really hard. So I learned the language in 6 months, like
wow,
language school, 20 hours a week.
Wow, amazing.
I had to.
Yeah, that's really good. Well done. Right.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. What happens when talking and communicating and connecting with people is for me, it's so important.
Yeah, I think learning the local language gives you access to the culture and to the people in connecting. And for anyone that wants to move abroad, I think it's good to start learning the local language. It opens doors. Yeah. Now, I would like to ask you, because by the time this video comes out, it will be around the time where we just about to celebrate Father's Day or just finished Father's Day itself. And I know you grew up in Curaçao. So how is it like to celebrate such events, or do you not celebrate such events?
When I was growing up, we did. Like Father's Day and Mother's Day, we all went to the grandparents.
Yes.
At my maternal grandparents, there were always food because the Suriname like to cook and eat together.
Right.
I remember in the garden, there was these long tables, 2 long tables, one for the kids, because then one for the grown-ups. And feeling very jealous of my older cousins because they were allowed to sit at the
adults table.
That's the only thing we wanted to do, sit at the grown-up table. But that was like the Sunday that you went to the grandparents, and that was really the way we celebrated. I am ashamed to say that moving to the Netherlands and being a mom myself, don't do anything. Celebrate.
Yeah.
Not Mother's Day, not Father's Day. It's not really a celebration, like a big celebration in the Netherlands.
Yeah, it should be every day a Mother's Day, right? Or Father's Day.
Oh, my kids.
Yeah.
No, but when the kids are in school, they make things, and then that's the thing that you do. And then we would, when they were younger, and then because they were working on these nice things for weeks,
Right.
So we will prepare a breakfast in bed for me for Mother's Day, my husband for Father's Day. But once they hit secondary school,
it just all goes away. Yeah, when the kids grow up, right? Now, for a Dutch person with Curaçao and Suriname's heritage, are there particular festivals that are important to you?
I would say no, and that has to do with that I did not grow up really celebrating
Right.
like cultural things. Like you have like the Keti Koti in the Netherlands, and in Curaçao you have the day of Tula. Tula was a freedom fighter who fought against to help to abolish slavery.
Right.
But we did not do that and I don't know if that also had to do with me growing up in the two cultures. We celebrated like families, Mother's Days, religion festivals like Christmas and things like that, but not really like a Keti Koti or the Tula, so as they call it in Curaçao.
Yes.
The only thing that grow up that we had is it's called Seu, and it's like a parade that they have in normally just after Easter, I think the Monday after Easter, and celebrate the new harvests. And that comes from the slavery time. So that was when, when they celebrated the harvest and they thanked God for the good harvest, or also to bring them a better harvest. So that's the only cultural, of course, Carnival, but Carnival is something else.
Yeah. But go ahead.
Yeah, if you look at really like a cultural celebration, I think Seu was the only one in Curaçao that we celebrated.
Yeah. And how do you celebrate Seu?
It's a parade, and that's another thing. We never took part in the parade. So we went and we looked at the parade, and it was nice, and you had maybe friends who walked in it. It's a carnival. You have a parade that every group has a team, and it's colorful and things.
Yeah.
So everybody dresses the same. It's like the Curaçaoan old clothes, they have like a skirt and a apron, and they have like a hat on their head made of linen.
Right.
So that's how it's celebrated.
Yes.
And that's the only way we partook, by watching it.
And this particular Seu festival, is it also celebrated by the Curaçaoan community here in the Netherlands?
As far as I know, no. I think it's Curaçao. Yeah.
This is so interesting. I'm going to look up on it.
And it's it's the only thing. And Keti Koti, actually, I think that started with the Suriname community.
Right. Yeah.
And it's also not so old, if I'm correctly. It's in the 2000s that they started celebrating this. Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah.
So me growing up, I never had that. No.
Yeah. It's I guess new understanding perhaps brought different occasions to be commemorated.
Yes,
right?
And I think it's also a way to teach the younger generation about our history and where we come from, because that's another thing that, as you know, when you live in a new country,
right?
Sometimes you are so busy getting used to the country and building your life that you sometimes forget these parts.
Indeed. Yeah. You did mention that something about the cultures that you're from, that food is important in the Curaçao and Suriname's culture. Can you tell me more about this? What kind of food, and what is like what is the most Curaçao or Surinamese food that we should look out for?
Okay, I'm going to my favorites. What I really love about Curaçao, they have it's okra. Okra, I think a lot of people know okra, and they have a soup that they make in Curaçao with fish and some pork and meat, beef things, meat
Yeah.
in it. I never made it. You see, I can't even tell you what's in it. Who's made it? And
So
they
the
eat,
name of the soup is okra.
no, the name of the soup is yambo.
Oh, okay.
Yambo. And it's made from okra. And
Okay.
I love it. And every time I go to Curaçao, I try to eat it at least once. And
Right.
they eat it with what they call funchi.
Mm-hmm.
Funchi is polenta. A lot of
Yeah.
people call polenta. It's the
Right.
same. And they eat it, it's like with corn, it's corn based. And
Right.
so that's my favorite Curaçaoan food.
Yes.
And of course, my favorite Suriname food is bruine bonen met rijst.
Oh,
Brown
brown beans
beans
with
with
rice.
rice.
Okay.
And my grandmother used to make it every Monday because they say the beans, they bring prosperity. So to start the week well. So every Monday we had bruine bonen met rijst. BB met rijst, as they Suriname call it. Yeah.
Ah. And is this something that you can somebody find in like the restaurants here in the Netherlands, the Curaçao Suriname food, or is this very much a home base?
I think the bruine bonen with rice, I think you can find this because it's quite easy to make. I've never seen Jambo in a Curaçao restaurant. No.
Oh.
And we eat, of course, of Curaçao also you eat a lot of fish and they have this Creole sauce with fish. It's also...
Huh.
But growing up with a father who is a really good cook, the problem is that I did not learn much cooking.
Ah.
This world.
Yeah, this is something that I realize every guest that comes on to this show, it always comes back to food. Like each culture really loves food. Even the Dutch people who live abroad come back to tell me about the food.
I think food it's certainly in Curaçao and Suriname, I think it's like a love language. If you come to the house and you leave without eating something, it's not possible.
No.
To come also, do you want something to drink? Do you want something to eat? I'm not even consciously doing it.
Right.
Just,
yeah.
Yeah.
This is so interesting because this is something in common with my culture, the Malay culture, that if somebody comes to your house, you should feed them because food is love.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
But I find it different when I moved to the Netherlands that if you don't make an appointment that doesn't state that there's going to be food, likely there's no food involved.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, like
something, but and as a student, you have your own things. But when I started to work, to be honest, I maybe used it a couple of times.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, I don't have so busy. Yeah, we need to make an appointment. I'm thinking, okay, that gives me a little bit more time.
Yeah, I don't need to have a meal with them. I can just go. Yeah, there are some things that are quite different, right? In the Dutch culture itself. Yeah.
So always when I cook, I always have way too much food.
Oh, me too.
Food, because I can't cook for the 3 of us or the 4 of us. I always cook for just in case a friend comes over or, my daughter's friends want to stay over for dinner. There's always enough food in the house. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes things are a little bit different with the Dutch culture here. When I first moved here to the Netherlands, I was taken aback that with the afspraak maken, with the appointment making, because in Singapore, if you meet up with a friend or somebody new, there will always be food involved. Like if you don't eat, it's not an outing. But over here, I realized that when you meet up for coffee, it's just coffee. Yeah,
there's some cookies and a cake, but
yeah, and sometimes even the cake is no, I don't know the cake. It's just coffee and cookie. So it is something that if viewers, if you're about to move to the Netherlands, just know that if you make an appointment, make sure you state whether there's going to be whether there's going to be food or not, right?
Exactly. But next time you come for a bottle,
Yes.
Curaçao, you had like parties but there was always so much food. You never
Right.
had. But
Yeah.
here you have maybe some chippies or some.
Cheese.
Yeah, but the cheese is good. Come on,
Yeah,
the cheese
indeed.
is good.
I have to say, yeah, definitely. I have never had so much appreciation of cheese until I moved to the Netherlands. And also bread. Honestly speaking, I'm Asian, so bread is not a thing where I grew up. It's very much about rice. But now after 6 years here, I've come to appreciate bread. Took a while.
My daughter is now, she's like, oh, what do I do for lunch in the Netherlands? Do I have to eat like a bread? I said, yes. I said, and some milk.
Yes. Okay. I am going to actually read to you some Dutch facts, all right, written by a famous book. But, as a person, a Dutch person with Curaçao and Suriname's heritage, let me know what do you think about these 2 facts that I'm going to read out to you. Okay.
Good.
Fact number 1. Oh, sorry, it's a big book. Fact number 1. The Dutch do not usually give compliments to individuals. Everything is considered a team effort and accolades are awarded to the group, not individuals. So conversely, individuals are not usually singled out for blame. When something goes wrong, it is considered the fault of a system that failed to exercise proper oversight, and the Dutch find self-aggrandizement, which is the self-promotion of oneself to be important or powerful, to be abhorrent, to be very bad. What do you think of this first fact? True or false?
True.
Which part of it is true?
All of it is true. It's really, that's definitely how I see it and how I am also.
Yeah.
No, you never say, oh, how good you are, or oh, I did a project and it was so good, and you don't do that. And I found that I had to learn how to talk about my accomplishments.
Right. Yeah, I totally
And that is also something that is also in the Curaçao and Suriname culture. You don't talk about. They have a saying. You don't put your head above the hoofd boven het maaiveld, because it gets chopped off.
Right.
When they are working on the field, if like a plant is higher, then it will
get chopped off.
So it's the same as everybody.
Right. Yeah. To promote yourself, it can be seen as a bit cringy, I suppose. Okay, good to know that it's confirmed.
And also with kids, because my daughter keeps asking me, why do you say our daughter? Why don't people are asking you about me and you say, yes, our daughter? I said, but you and my father's daughter. And I didn't realize that for her, but why don't you say my daughter? Because and I said, I didn't realize.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, she was asking me, I'm like, oh yeah, we do that.
Right.
So yes, true.
Very good. All right. Second fact. The Dutch place great importance on planning and efficient use of time. Arriving even a few minutes late to a business meeting may cause the Dutch to doubt your ability to utilize time well. In the Netherlands, a person who is late is suspected of being either incompetent or untrustworthy or both. What do you think?
A little bit true. I think it used to be like this.
Right.
Of course, I think now with people, maybe, I don't know, more cultures, more open.
Right.
I think if you are 5 minutes late,
it's
I think
fine.
it will be okay. But if you are like 10 minutes late and you don't call, maybe that's the difference. You can be late, but call and say, I'm sorry, I'm arriving a little bit later.
Right.
I think it's about the communication. So it's not like if I call and I say I will be 10 minutes late with a reason, not like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just waking up.
Right.
That's something else. That's seen as disrespectful because that is the I think the reason behind it.
Right.
You say, okay, I make an appointment, I reserve the time for you, and it's disrespectful for you to not arrive on time because I did, reserve this time and to be with you to talk about something.
Right.
But what I see, because I am one of those that are always 5 minutes earlier, I'm very Dutch in that matter. And
Understand.
my Dutch friends that I am the one who is punctually on time, but they are a little bit more lax.
Yeah. I think overall being punctual is important.
It's
Yeah.
important, but yeah. But
I
it's
also,
not as much as it's not so like in the book it's said like it's very judgmental, but I think it's less.
yeah, okay, that's good
Used
to
to
know.
be like this, but I think they are mellowing a little
Yeah.
bit.
I remember when I first moved to the Netherlands, in Singapore, in Singapore, when you are new to a job, you don't leave work on time. You, especially in the first week, so you work longer to show that you're very hardworking. So I had used that same idea when I first moved to the Netherlands and I started working in the Netherlands, in a local office here. So the time was, okay, you're supposed to go home at 5:30, right? So I decided to stay at work until like 6:30, 7, because that was what I was taught. So I did it for the first week. And the week after, one of my colleagues, my Dutch colleagues, came to me and asked me, are you okay? Do you find this job too difficult for you? And I was really taken aback. I like, oh, I thought I was showing everybody how hardworking I was. But actually, staying longer, it could come across that I'm not able to manage my work well.
Exactly.
So I always leave work on time from that.
Exactly. And even if you leave earlier and all your work is done, that is good because then you
Right,
manage to do everything efficiently.
right. So it was like a total
See.
change for me.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
nice.
Funny, right?
Oh.
Now, okay, so this is a time where we've learned so much from you, Arlette, right? So do you have any top advice for anybody who would like to move to the Netherlands from a Dutch person like you? Yeah.
Okay, the first thing, and that's everywhere when you move, is try to build a network before you come to the place. To have a friendly face already in place. And it might be if you're moving for work, try to connect with new colleagues already because and it makes it easier when you arrive in the office that you already know a little bit, you know the person a little bit, and that will make it easier for you to adapt to the country and to your new working place. But okay, my top tip I think is, as you all know, the Dutch are perceived as really honest.
Yes. Direct.
And don't take it personally. That is my tip. Please do not take it personally.
Right. Yeah.
And also use it to your advantage and speak up, because this is a country where when you speak up, it's really appreciated.
Yes. That's very true. Yeah.
It's really appreciated, and don't take it personally, because I know when, and even talking about countries, I had a friend who were like, oh, the British, and she was so, oh, she didn't speak to me for, I think, a week. I understand. And I'm like, did I say something wrong? And yeah, you were talking about the British, so I feel really personally attacked. Like, no, if somebody says something about the Netherlands, it's not about me.
Indeed.
No, that is the way we think. We are not personally attacked when you say something about the Netherlands. We will go into a discussion with you, like we like to discuss the polder model.
Yes, the polder model. We like varying perspective.
Exactly. So, but that's another thing. If something is said, know that I think 90% of the times it will probably you, or maybe more. You may have that one time that is really meant personally, but normally when something is said, it's not meant personally.
Yes.
Take it at face value and yeah, and use that same and be open and express yourself and talk about what's bothering you.
Yeah.
Only and that's the thing, and that talking about our differences is what really moves all of us forward.
Indeed, indeed. And I like that you're sharing these tips, because I actually find them to be really true. So everybody, just know that don't take things personally when you come to the Netherlands, and be open to all sorts of opinions. And that way it's more fun, actually. Now, now we are gonna round off really quickly, because I can talk to you endlessly. I always have fun talking to you. Now, is there a message that you want to send out to your family and friends from around the world?
Yes, I want to say hi to all the people all around the world. And oh, I feel so blessed. You have no idea to have so many friends all around the world. The flip side is that you are not together a lot of times, but that gives me an opportunity to visit them. And I will be coming to all these places. So, and yeah, a heartfelt hi, big hug, and to all my friends. And I have a top tip for people coming to the Netherlands.
Yeah. And
The best place to stay fit. Buy a bike as soon as possible. It's flat.
Right.
And you will be as fit as you can be.
It's true. I've never been more outdoorsy in my life since I lived in the Netherlands.
Yes.
And before we go, because I understand that you speak Papiamento and of course Dutch. Can you speak something in Papiamento and Dutch to us, and so we can learn new phrases?
Tabata un placer.
Tabata un placer.
Yes, it's
what does that mean?
A pleasure.
It's my pleasure.
It was a pleasure to be here. Tabata un placer dita aqui. It was a pleasure to be here.
Oh, that's perfect. That's awesome. And anything in Dutch for anybody watching us?
Het was heerlijk om hier te zijn en het was zeer gezellig.
Oh, like super gezellig. Yay! And with that, everyone, that is Arlette Chatlein, right? Is that correct? Yes.
That's correct.
Thank you so much, Arlette, for being with us. And I hope to catch you again in the near future. And for everybody who's watching in, thank you for being with us again. And we hope to see you in future episodes. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.